Hey everyone, I'm DT10 and in this video I'll be reviewing and showcasing Dalek Mod Update 68, which is the Take Flight update. Apologies, this video is a little bit late as I've been away on holiday, but I hope you enjoy it nevertheless. If you do end up enjoying this video, then please consider subscribing as it would help me out a ton. However, there's lots of features to get through in this update, so let's get started. So, as I just mentioned, there are loads and loads of features in this update. In fact, it's the biggest one we've had since the initial release of Dalek Mod 1.16.5, which was update 65. And we'll start over here with the mobs. So there are actually a total of 3 new mobs and 1 new variant. So first of all, we've got the Ood. So this mod doesn't make any sounds. I actually have my hostile mob sounds turned off. But as you can see, if we turn this up, the other guys will start making some noises, but this guy doesn't. Now, he is actually a completely peaceful mob. So as you can see, I'm in survival mode and he's not attacking me. However, if you attack the Ood, its eyes will turn red and it will start sprinting towards you like this, and it will deal damage with its little ball thing. So next up on the list of new mobs is the Cyber Villager. This guy has a really cool texture and a terrifying sound, which is a sort of a combination between the normal villager sound and then a Cyberman type thing. It's actually very eerie. However, I did have a look and I tried to get a Cyberman to attack a villager multiple times and I couldn't get one of these guys to spawn in its place. Editing DT here, I've just checked with the devs and apparently this is how you get them to spawn. I must have either just been really unlucky or couldn't get it to work for some reason, but yeah, if a Cyber type kills a normal villager, then you spawn a Cyber Villager. I'm going to turn off sounds now because there's nothing new and they were really getting on my nerves. But next up on the list of new mobs is the Cybermat. This is making a return from Dalek Mod 1.12 and again has a very nice little texture. Very similar to a silverfish in terms of its animation and its size and everything. And if you're curious how you get these guys to spawn, if you kill a Cyberman, there is a chance it will spawn, I believe, up to 2 of these guys in its place. And speaking of Cybermen, finally we have this brand new Cyberman variant. This is called a Dark Cyberman, as you could probably expect, and it doesn't do anything special, although one of the things I did notice is that you don't actually have to kill it to get the achievement for killing all the types of Cybermen, but that is probably something that will be fixed in the future. The final change to do with Cybermen is that they now spawn naturally in the world. Next up, we've got new armor sets, which is actually very interesting. Our first one right here is the Dalekanium set. So there isn't really much to say about this one. If we go into just enough items, you can see it's crafted exactly the same as you'd expect, just with your regular Dalekanium ingots. However, there is a slightly cool thing. If you put this armor on, as you can see, the boots have this really cool particle effect. However, I believe this is purely cosmetic. They don't negate your full damage or let you glide or anything, although there is a way to negate full damage, which I'll show you in just a second. But yeah, for now, I believe these are purely cosmetic. Our next set of armor over here is the steel armor. Again, pretty simple, crafted exactly how you'd expect, just with the regular steel ingots like this. The thing I like about this one is you've got this sort of Cyberman design on the chest plate. It's very nice. However, this is actually the only set of armor that doesn't have anything fancy going on with the boots, and I was sort of hoping that they'd make the Cyberman sound effect. That was something I really liked from Dalek Mod 1.12. If you wore steel boots, they'd make this Cyberman sound effect, and it was very irritating, but it was brilliant for pranking your friends and stuff. You could walk around and basically pretend to be a Cyberman. That's something that it's a shame not to see in this update, but maybe we'll see it sometime down the line. And our final set of armor is the Metal Alert set, which is by far the coolest in my opinion. The texture for this is absolutely phenomenal. It looks really good. And it also comes with a new item, which I'll cover in just a second. But first of all, just having a brief look at the armor. This is how it looks in the inventory. However, the thing I like about this one the most is, like I was saying, there is actually a way to negate full damage, and that is with these, the Metal Alert boots. So if you are in survival mode and you fall from a high place, as you can see, you take absolutely no full damage with these Metal Alert boots on, which is extremely overpowered, however for good reason, because you see, this is extremely difficult armor to get. So this right here is a new item, the Metal Alert Scrap, and it is to do with how you get your hands on this beautiful set of armor. So the way you craft this armor is you combine your regular Dalekanium armor, which I showed you how to craft earlier, with liquid Metal Alert in a smithing table. You get this liquid Metal Alert with your Metal Alert Scrap and then a lava bucket and some Dalekanium concentrate. You get the Dalekanium concentrate with a vial of mercury, some Dalekanium ingots which Daleks drop, and and then sugar, and you get the vial of mercury with your cinnabar, which you can find in asteroids, fallen asteroids and stuff, and your lava bucket and glass bottle. All of this is done with the engineering table, by the way, minus the final step, which is done in a smithing table. So yeah, it's a very, very complicated recipe, and this metal alert scrap is even more difficult to get your hands on. In fact, the crafting recipe requires 4 netherite blocks and a nether star, so you need to kill the wither and get a lot of netherite. In fact, if I do the maths quickly, I believe this is 144 ancient debris for just 1 scrap. So for the full set, you'll need 4 times that amount, which is a little bit insane. However, this is actually just a temporary crafting recipe. The reason it's a temporary crafting recipe is because these metal alert scraps are eventually going to be found on Skaro. So Skaro has been in development for quite some time now, and we're expecting to see that in the next update or 2. So I'm curious to see how rare these will be on Skaro. I'm going to assume extremely rare, judging by this crafting recipe, but we'll just have to wait and find out. So yeah, that's it for all of our armor sets, but next up we've actually got a brand new item right here. This is the Desert Eagle, a new type of gun, and it comes with the addition of the bullets. So this is the crafting recipe for the bullet. It's extremely simple. You just need 1 iron, 1 gold, and 1 gunpowder, and you get 12 of these things. So they're very easy to come by, which is sort of the point. You want these things to be your easy access item, but then the Desert Eagle itself is a little bit harder to craft. Again, not too much. You just need 5 iron and 2 gunpowder, and it actually does a decent amount of damage. So if we head into survival mode, you can see that you need to hold it down to charge it up, and then when you release it, it will obviously fire with a really cool custom sound effect and use up one of your bullets. So this thing does actually do a decent amount of damage. As you can see, it only takes a couple of hits to kill this guy, and it does also have a decent amount of durability. So each one has up to 300 bullets that can be used, and then you just need to craft another one, which, as I mentioned earlier, is very, very easy to do. You can also enchant this, so you can have mending, unbreaking, and curses if you want it for whatever reason. However, that is not the only new weapon to be added. There is a new type of baseball bat, the wooden baseball bat. So if you remember, we already had the regular baseball bat, and this one is exactly the same. It just does 1 less attack damage, as you can see. In fact, there's a little bit of a theme to adding wooden variants to things in this update, the rest of which we'll get to a little bit later. But for now, we'll finish off our random extra items. You've also got a bowl of custard, which, as you would expect, is consumable, and it refills some of your hunger. And then finally, you've also got the credit item. So this doesn't do anything. It's a completely useless item. However, obviously this is to be used on servers and stuff. You can use it as a form of currency. They are also craftable using 2 steel ingots and 1 diamond if you're interested. But yeah, I think this will be really heavily used on servers that use the Dalek mod. I think it's a great little item to have. However, obviously pretty useless if you're in single player. So next up, onto the new blocks, and as you can see, there's quite a few of them. So in previous updates, we already had these roundels. These are the terracotta roundels with an S. However, these ones are the terracotta roundel, and these are new. So this is basically a variant of these ones, except it's a single roundel. And I think this is a really, really good addition. Again, this is something we saw in 1.12. However, these have completely new textures and look really, really good. The immediate obvious use I can see for these is maybe using these ones, or possibly the orange or yellow ones, to build your own coral TARDIS interior. That would look really, really cool. But yeah, as you'd expect, there's 16 color variants plus the default terracotta ones, and I think all of them look really, really good. My favorite is probably the cyan terracotta roundel. I just like how vibrant it is. But yeah, overall, really, really nice roundels to be added to the mod. And they aren't the only new roundels to be added. As you can see over here, there are brand new roundels for all the types of wood. So each of these have their regular variant and their strip variant, and I can see plenty of use cases for both of these. Probably more for the stripped ones, to be honest. I think they'd go with a lot of different block palettes. But yeah, all of them look really, really good. Absolutely no complaints from me. If you're curious on the crafting recipes, it's as you'd expect. You just use the roundel builder, you combine it with a roundel mold, and then the block of your choice. I did check, you cannot use an axe to strip the default ones into these types of roundels. That might be a cool thing to see in the future, but to be honest, it might just be easier to combine your roundel molds with the stripped log anyway. But yeah, I just just thought I'd point it out in case you guys were curious on how you get your hands on these. If I had to pick a favourite, I'd probably say these nether ones over here. These look brilliant. By the way, obviously this excludes all of the modern wood types like mangrove and bamboo and cherry and stuff, because that's just not in 1.16. This only goes up to the nether update, but I'm really glad it includes these ones because they look absolutely fantastic. So there's only one more block that was added in this update, and that is the wooden scanner. So I've just put it next to the regular scanner so you get a bit of a side by side. I believe they do exactly the same thing, it's just this one has a substantially different texture based around what I believe is a stripped spruce log, and yeah, it looks really, really nice, and I can see a lot of use cases for this in TARDIS interiors. And speaking of TARDISes, that is where we can find all of the rest of the additions in this update. There is a few other changes in this update, for example a few updated recipes, special weapons Daleks spawn a lot less regularly, which is something I'm really, really thankful to see, greener grass in the TARDIS dimension. You can find a list of all of these changes and more on the CurseForge website. Just go to the original Dalek Mod version update 68, not any of the patches or anything, and you can find a full changelog there. But anyway, as I was saying, the rest of the changes are in the TARDIS, and one of them is right here in front of you. This is a brand new TARDIS exterior. It's called the Time Fracture exterior, and it is the one we see in Power of the Doctor, and I really, really like it. It has a great texture. It's just a modified version of 13's, obviously. And then if we head on inside, there is a few new additions that I'm really, really excited to show you. One of them is this right here. This is the flight panel, and it is what this update is named for. It is finally the return of TARDIS Flight mode, which is something people have been asking to see in this version for absolutely ages. So the way you get your hands on this item is either by crafting it. It's got a pretty easy crafting recipe, as you can see right here. It just requires some redstone circuits, some stone, some purple stainless steel, and then some brass cogs like this. Or alternatively, you can order one using a Kablam computer. You can just press add to basket and then buy one like this. And as you can see, in a minute, my order will be delivered. I absolutely love these Kablam men, by the way. It's such a brilliant system. But yeah, as you can see, you can grab one of the flight panels from in here. And the way you use this is extremely simple. You simply right click it and it puts you in flight mode. So it works exactly the same as it did in 1.12. You basically have creative mode control. So spacebar to go up, shift to go down, and then tap double spacebar to just drop. It's got a really, really nice UI, and if you press F1, it disables it completely, which is something I'm very thankful for the sake of recording and stuff. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. It plays a nice little noise every once in a while. You've got your fuel in the top left along with your coordinates. And yeah, there's not much else to say. Once you're done, you just have to head back down to the ground, land, and then press shift, and you're back in the TARDIS. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a brilliant feature that I am very happy to see return from 1.12. And for the sake of ease and simplicity, it's a really, really nice feature to have. However, I have to say, I think it is far too easy to get your hands on one of these flight panels at the moment. I certainly think that it should cost more in the Kablam computer, and the recipe should be updated to be a bit more complex, because obviously while getting your hands on a TARDIS is difficult in itself, this is such an overpowered feature. I mean, effectively it means with a simple crafting recipe you can get yourself creative mode flight and go anywhere you want to in a very short space of time without even touching the coordinate panel. So while I am really happy to see this in the mod, I think implementation of it could do with a little bit of work. But yeah, that is my one complaint. Other than that, I really, really like it. Great texture for the flight panel, and yeah. So that is almost us done with all of the features of this update. I've tried to whiz through them relatively quickly because there are so many of them and I don't want this video to drag on. However, there is one more thing, or rather a few more things that I haven't shown you yet, and in my personal opinion I have saved the best till last because these are something I am so excited to see in the mod, and that is the return of the Doctor's TARDIS interiors in the default mod, which is so exciting. I remember making my own add-ons for these ages ago, which by the way I might update with the new builds at some point, so look out for that. But yeah, I'm so happy to finally see versions of these in the base mod. So in total you've got the copper one, which is the 11th Doctor's one. We already had the 12th Doctor's. You've got the classical one, which I want to say is a iteration of the 4th or 5th Doctor's interior. possibly the 7th. It's from that kind of area. You've then also got the 3rd Doctor's interior, the 13th Doctor's interior, the War Doctors, and then somewhere in here, yeah, you've also got the 8th Doctor's called the Hudolin interior. So yeah, very, very exciting. And we will go in chronological order. I will start with the 3rd Doctor's and we'll work our way up from there. And by the way, all of these have a recipe in case you're wondering. You can't just get your hands on them straight away. That would be far too easy. So first of all, you've got the 3rd Doctor's interior, a nice and simple one to start. Obviously, you've got the pale green console with the green time rotor, and other than that, it mostly consists of white plastic roundels. You've also got a door over here, which now that I've looked at it, could potentially do with some lighting fixes. I don't know if that's possible, but it really sticks out here. But anyway, through this roundel door, you've then also got access to the rest of the corridors in this TARDIS. Not much else to see here, so we'll move on to the next one, which is the classical interior. Again, not too much to say here. It uses the yellow quartz roundels, and then you've got a monitor consisting of 4 scanners, a pretty average console, this time using stainless steel, and then through this door it links up with the rest of the corridors, just like all of the TARDISes do. Something I would have loved to see, especially with the addition of the wooden scanner and all of the wooden roundels and everything, is a version of the 4th Doctor's secondary console room. That would be a really nice addition, but to be honest, as far as I'm aware, the default 4th Doctor's interior hasn't been added, so I'm not entirely sure how that would be implemented, and it would also have to fit within the constraints of the corridors and everything. But yeah, maybe just something to consider adding for the future. So continuing along in chronological order, next up we've got the Hudolin, aka the 8th Doctor's TARDIS interior, and this one is probably my favourite one so far. I really, really like this one. In the context of an 8th Doctor's TARDIS interior, it's relatively simple. There's not too much going on here. It makes nice use of all of the doors and everything, and the end rod effect is really, really cool. But yeah, there's certainly bigger 8th Doctor's interiors out there, like a certain massively oversized vanilla TARDIS tutorial build, but I think that suits the style that they're going for in Dalek Mod 1.16.5 quite nicely. You don't want it to feel like it's too accurate and everything, because they're very much keeping to a Minecrafty feel. If you want, you can tear all of it down and build your own, and that's sort of, I think, the main thing they're going for here. You have this as an option, but if you want, you can be creative and build your own as well. Next up, we've got the War Doctor's TARDIS interior, which you can see right here. I really, really like the pillar design they've gone for here with the spruce trapdoors and everything. That looks really, really good. And they've also dotted around some black carpet as some extra wires for decoration, which is nice. A shame that there's no wires around the ceiling. That's sort of easily replicated with fences and stuff, but to be fair, it would clutter it a bit. And the other thing you've got to consider is obviously all of the materials have to be provided by the player. And if you're in survival mode, it's a lot of materials to gather, especially, for example, 482 stones, 638 roundels. It's a lot of materials, so I can see why they've sort of stripped back some elements. And the same goes for the 8th Doctor's interior that we just looked at. But yeah, other than that, not much else to say. It links up with the corridors. A nice little detail is that there's some extra wires in the form of black carpet going around here as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So finally, we're now on to the 2 New Who TARDIS interiors. It's a bit of a shame not to see the coral one added, because obviously we've got the 11th Doctor's one right here. We had the 12th Doctor's one already, and we've got the 13th. So it's just to finish off all the New Who TARDISes, it would have been really nice to have the coral one, but unfortunately that is not the case. But we'll take a look at the copper one next, and this is a really, really nice one. Once again, working within the sort of scale that they've gone for with all of these builds, none of them too big. Got a nice little monitor, and I really like the decoration of these thingies. I always forget what they're called. It's also got the walkway all the way along the top, and under here, I believe, yep, this links up to some bonus little corridor sections, and the same goes for down here and up here as well. Weirdly, none of these link up. All of them are just dead ends. It potentially would have been nice to see some of them link up. Again, obviously, it would have been quite hard to do within the constraints that they've got. I mean, as you can see, if we head outside, there's a very clear sort of square plot that all of these have to fit into. But for example, right here, there could have just been a little staircase leading up, or even a ladder or something, just to make it feel a little bit more interconnected. But yeah, that's pretty much my only complaint with this one. I really, really like it. And our final TARDIS interior is the crystal crystalline one, aka the 13th Doctor's interior, which we'll take a look at right now. So this one is really, really nice. It makes excellent use of the crystalline block itself, obviously, because that is pretty much what it was added for. I have to say, it does sort of highlight quite how much contrast this block has. Is that what gives it this sort of texture? It's very in your face, let's say that. But yeah, I really, really like this design, actually. It makes nice use of the stained steel slabs and stuff as well as the steel rusted beam roundels and the filled rusted steel beam roundels. Yeah, they're a mouthful. And then it also has some more extra corridor entrances over here and at the back as well. So yeah, if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably go with the Hudolian one, the 8th Doctor's. That was a really, really nice TARDIS, but to be honest, that's probably because the 8th Doctor's interior in the show is one of my favorites by far. So in terms of the accuracy of the builds, all of them are really, really good. I think the build team has done a fantastic job with these interiors. They really fit in with the rest of the existing interiors in the mod and the style that 1.16.5 is going for, like I mentioned earlier. The only thing I would say is obviously they lose some accuracy in terms of their size. Some of them feel quite cramped and not quite big enough, but unfortunately there's not really much that can be done about that unless all of the existing interiors are changed to have a bigger default footprint. So yeah, overall really, really nice interiors, and that pretty much wraps up this update. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this update review. I've tried to keep it relatively concise while covering all of the features that this incredible update has to offer. If you'd like to download this update, obviously the link is in the description. Just head over to the CurseForge page and download it there. And like I mentioned earlier, that is where you can also find a changelog of all of the extra features that this update comes with that I haven't covered. For example, the bug fixes and the smaller changes that are separate to the main additions that I cover in this video. Overall, I'd probably say this is the best update we've had since the release of 1.16.5 way back in January last year. It feels insane to say that. Yeah, I mean, the Kablam men were pretty good, but I think this just about tops it. Really nice to see the TARDIS Flight back, some incredible new TARDIS interiors, and yeah, nothing but high praises for this update. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or comment, and if you'd like to see more content like this, then please subscribe. But I've been DT10, and I will see you in the next video.